Welcome everyone to another episode of Yu-Gi-Oh! Archetype Review. In this episode we are going to be diving right into the archetype known as Phantom Beast. I'll actually start by making an important note so that you're not confused between this archetype and another sub-archetype known as Mecha Phantom Beast. The two are extremely different, and to be honest, Mecha Phantom Beast is actually a pretty good archetype in some ways, whereas Phantom Beast, meaning the archetype I'll be exploring in this video, not so much. So I know that sounds pretty blunt, but let's be perfectly honest here. Phantom Beast, especially if you know the archetype, you would know that it's honestly a pretty bad archetype. And I hate to really make this video sound like I'm kind of shit-talking the entire archetype, but I do actually have to be perfectly honest in situations when an archetype really is not good at all. And a lot of this video is going to be that. Regardless, the looks and the art style of this archetype is actually pretty intriguing to me. There's definitely some interesting elements used here when it comes to adding some kind of crazy cool features in combination with some animal-like art, and I do really appreciate that a lot. Regardless, like I said, it's not a very good archetype in terms of playstyle, and it only has a very small amount of cards, actually 7 to count, so yeah, another rather small archetype, so let's go ahead and dive right in. So the very first card in this archetype actually came out in Metal Raiders, but this was actually before it was an actual archetype. So, as you know, Metal Raiders came out in June 26 of 2002. So there's only one Phantom Beast card in this set, known as Gazelle, the King of Mythical Beasts. It is an Earth level 4 beast type monster, and it's actually a vanilla normal monster with 1500 attack and 1200 defense, and its flavor text says, "This monster moves so fast that it looks like an illusion to mortal eyes." And here's the thing, if you actually had an older copy of this card, at the very bottom left corner you will not actually see the text that states, "This card is always treated as a Phantom Beast card." It wasn't until much later when this card actually officially became a part of the Phantom Beast archetype in the TCG as well. Now the reason why this was added is because in its original Japanese name, the term Phantom Beast actually isn't there. It's really just a localization, translation thing that, you know, the North American version, basically the TCG, always seems to fuck it up somehow. This monster is no exception. But like I said, I mean, it's a vanilla monster, there's really not much to say about this card other than, I guess it was an okay stat monster back in Metal Raiders. Nowadays, obviously, it's pretty useless. Moving on. The next set, which introduced 3 additions to the archetype, actually all came in one bundle known as Tag Force Bundles, which was released in November 16th, 2006. So the first card is known as Phantom Beast Crosswing. It's a light level 4 Beast Warrior type monster with 1300 attack and defense. Its effect says, while this card is in the graveyard, Gazelle, the King of Mythical Beasts, and all Phantom Beast monsters on the field gain 300 attack. Before I talk about this card, I will say that when it comes to actually specifically saying the term or the word Gazelle, the King of Mythical Beasts, the reason why, despite it saying now on Gazelle that it's treated as a Phantom Beast monster, is because no additional support has been released for the Phantom Beast archetype since that small amount of text has been added to Gazelle. About the card itself though, I suppose it's okay in terms of getting your Phantom Beast a little bit stronger, because if you do have 3 copies of this card in the graveyard, all your Phantom Beasts do get a massive 900 attack boost, which, hey, even nowadays it's actually not that bad. But the issue is when I say all your Phantom Beast monsters, assuming you have 3 copies of this card in your graveyard, you don't really have much to work with because there are not that many Phantom Beast monsters, especially ones with high attack, so that's kind of an issue here. But in terms of the monster itself, it's okay. It's not horrible. That's all the good news, I guess. The next one is known as Phantom Beast Thunder Pegasus. It's another light level 4 Beast Warrior monster with 700 attack and 2000 defense, and its effect says when your opponent's monster declares an attack, you can remove from play this card from your graveyard to make the battle damage taken by 1 Gazelle, the King of Mythical Beasts, or Phantom Beast monster 0. When this happens, that monster is not destroyed by battle. You can obviously tell that this archetype is incredibly old, even in terms of reprints, because it still says remove from play as opposed to banish. Yes, the newest set that introduced this card as well as a lot of other cards in the archetype is actually back in 2009, the Gold Series set in 2009. However, with the card itself, well, protection, I suppose that's fine, but it's only by battle, so it's horribly outdated. I suppose it was an okay card when it came out in 2009, but the fact that it only essentially protects from battle, well, its stats are okay in terms of defense, but attack, that's another story. Which is why I was saying, even if you have 3 copies of Crosswing, 700 plus 900 is definitely not enough, I'll just say that. The next card is Phantom Beast Wildhorn. It's an Earth level 4 Beast Warrior with 1700 attack and 0 defense, and its effect says during battle between this card and a defense position monster whose defense is lower than the attack of this card, inflict the difference as battle damage to your opponent. Yeah, seeing 3 lines of attacks probably got you thinking, ooh, a pretty juicy effect. Basically, I can sum all this down to one word: piercing. That's it. This card is a 1700 beater with piercing. That's it. That's literally it. So, I suppose the attack is respectable. Came out back in 2006. Yeah, 1700 plus 900 is actually 2600. Pretty good attack. But of course, I know I keep saying 3 crosswings on the graveyard. But let's be honest, what's the chance of you being able to effectively dish out 3 crosswings into your graveyard fairly early in the duel? It's actually pretty damn hard. It really is. Now the fact that this card only has piercing and 1700 attack, you might be like, there's probably better cards. Well, here's the problem. There are no better cards. If you want to run some Phantom Beast cards, you have to run Crosswing and Thunder Pegasus and Wildhorn, because that's all your monsters when it comes to level 4 or lower, not counting Gazelle, but it's your choice if you want to count it or not, because it is a vanilla monster, so it's not really going to help you out. So if you count Gazelle, you got 4 monsters that are level 4 or lower. You gotta work with what you got, right? The next set that introduced another card in the archetype is one known as Force of the Breaker, however, only the special edition. In case you don't know, special edition boxes would actually generally have an additional 1 or 2 cards, usually in the back of the box, inside the box of course, but in the back, and it would have a bonus card. Phantom Beast Rock Lizard being one of them, was actually one of them. And this set was introduced in June 25th, 2007. So I mentioned Rock Lizard, let's talk about that. So Phantom Beast Rock Lizard is a dark level 7 Beast Warrior monster with 2200 attack and 2000 defense. The effect reads, if you're tributing a Phantom Beast monster or Gazelle the King of Mythical Beasts, this card can be normal summon with 1 tribute. When this card destroys a monster by battle, inflict 500 damage to your opponent. When this card is destroyed and sent to the graveyard by an opponent's card effect, inflict 2000 damage to your opponent. This card is generally regarded as the quote-unquote boss monster of the archetype, and yeah, if you're looking at this and being like, what the fuck, seriously? Yeah, exactly, this is pretty much their best boss monster. That's all I really have to say about that. Here's the thing, the first effect is actually kind of a bad effect. I mean, not really, it's a good effect, but it's more so a bad level. It's hard to explain that concept. This monster should have already just been a level 6. The fact that you have to tribute a Phantom Beast or a Gazelle to actually essentially make it a 1 tribute monster, not really a good effect. They could have just made it into a 6 without that effect, right? And it would have actually been a better card, because universally you can just tribute 1 monster. Whatever. The second effect, well, it's some burn damage. I suppose it's better than some other shitty cards that inflict like 300 burn damage when it destroys a monster in battle, so I guess it's a little bit better. And the last effect, the sad part is that it has to be an effect destroyed by your opponent's card effect. Because of that, your opponent has to be a complete idiot to actually let that trigger and them taking 2000 damage. So yes, it's a lot of damage. However, how often is it actually going to happen? Probably never. And lastly, the stats for a level 7 are horrendous. Even for a level 6, it would be okay. But for level 7, no. Yeah, not much to work with, but once again, if you're running the deck, you have to run this card. You have to do it. The next set that introduced one new addition is Absolute Powerforce, which came out on February 16th, 2010. The next card is Chimera, the Flying Mythical Beast. It's a Wind, level 6 Beast Fusion monster with 2100 attack and 1800 defense. Its materials include Gazelle the King of Mythical Beasts and Baphomet. Yeah, you know, the biggest Phantom Beast monster ever. Baphomet. Yeah, right. Anyway, its effect says, this card is always treated as a Phantom Beast card. When this card is destroyed, you can target 1 Baphomet or 1 Gazelle the King of Mythical Beasts in your graveyard, special summon that target. Well, at least it says when it's destroyed, not just destroyed by battle, but it's a little bit better. It's not a horrible fusion monster, but it's more so its materials that kind of suck. Both Baphomet and Gazelle are honestly not that great of monsters, but I'm sure you already know that. Its stats are, I guess, okay, but here's the weird thing about this too. This thing is a Wind. Yeah, the fact that even attributes are kind of different, that really signifies a huge problem here, because you can't even get attribute support cards, and that's really a big issue with it, you know? And the final set to introduce in addition to the archetype is Duelist Revolution, which came out on August 17th, 2010. So the one and only card is Horn of the Phantom Beast. It's a normal trap card that says target one beast or beast warrior monster you control. Equip this card to that target. It gains 800 attack. If the equipped monster destroys your opponent's monster by battle and sends it to the graveyard, draw one card. The really funny thing about this card is that it actually had more utilization outside of Phantom Beast. The reason why is because the card actually says Beast or Beast Warrior. Despite it having Phantom Beast in the card name, it does not actually get specific with saying Phantom Beast in the card text. When you look at the card as a whole, it's actually a pretty okay card for 2010 standards. Essentially, it's an 800 attack boost, and every time the monster destroys another monster by battle, you get to draw a card. That's honestly pretty good, you know, you're going some advantage there, +1 every time. That's pretty cool. It's just a shame that I can't really talk about this card specifically in relation to Phantom Beast other than, well, run it if you really want to, because it's pretty good. In one huge way, I really hate to say that the trap card of this archetype is actually the best card in the archetype, but anyway, that is actually it for the entire archetype. So now we get into the portion that I would normally try to offer some advice on how to actually make this better. But here's the thing about this, and I'm sure you know what's coming. I do not have any advice for this, because to be perfectly honest, you can't necessarily run an effective Phantom Beast deck nowadays and expect to really win with it. Yes, you can have fun with it by actually building it and essentially using 3 copies of Gazelle, 3 Crosswings, 3 Thunder Pegasus, 3 Wildhorns, 3 Rock Lizards I guess, and maybe some Burfamets and Polymerization, and that's essentially your whole monster lineup. And when it comes to support cards, what's actually kind of interesting in such a bad way for the archetype, which I really hate to admit, is the fact that it's not even consistent with attributes and types. With types, sort of, because it does narrow it down to 2 types, Beast and Beast Warrior, so there is some leeway into that. Attributes though, they have Earth, Dark, Wind, and Light. I don't even know what the fuck you do with that, because it's just so diverse in terms of attributes, you can't even add cards in there that actually give some support for a specific attribute. If they were all one attribute, you can at least add attribute support, so that'd be pretty cool, right? But honestly, you cannot do that. Stat-wise, they're also all very different. Some monsters focus on attacking, other monsters focus on defending and supporting. Now yes, I know that in many archetypes that is of course the goal, but when you have so little to work with, yet it's so different and crazy, it's a little hard to have a consistent strategy. It'd be one thing if the archetype focused on like brute force and attacking, or turtle techniques of defending, but you can't really do that in this archetype because it's just so random and all over the place with so little cards to use. I really hate if this video actually came across as some kind of like shit talking to the archetype, because I mean in some ways it kind of did, you know. I have to be honest where I see these kinds of things, and the archetype has just been there, and it seems like Konami just pretty much gave up on it since like 2010, so yeah, it's a little unfortunate. And once again, if you see me bashing this archetype, let me know and I'll try to be a little less direct, you know. I'll try to find a few more positives here and there, even if it's literally impossible sometimes. But that's about it for the archetype. As always, let me know about this video and really about this archetype in terms of what you think about it, because I'm always down to hear what you think about the archetypes that I review on this actual series, but also about the style of the video. So as always, if you enjoyed this video in any way, please be sure to leave a like. I would appreciate it very much. Thank you, and as always, I will see you all next time. Bye bye everyone, have a great and of course a fantastic day.